Okay, in this teaching module, we're going to be looking at Marshallian cost curves. We'll start with the perfect competition model when the price elasticity of demand is greater than 1. First thing we ask, what industry are we talking about? Who decides how the industry is determined, with what knowledge and for what purpose? Joseph Schumpeter, very well-respected economist, wrote this History of Economic Analysis when he was at Harvard, died in 1950, and his wife edited in 1954, I think. He says the reason that you have regulatory economists using microeconomics to regulate the industry is because they're envious of those who are entrepreneurially successful, and as well are statists who believe that the state can solve society's problems. So they use regulatory economics to use state power to regulate industry, which basically is breaking up monopolies. I have a paper that I wrote for the Association for Cultural Economics International. I presented it in 2019. And it looks at regulatory theory and the difficulty and the subjectivity of measurement. How the analyst determines what the market is helps determine the findings that the analyst, the applied microeconomist, regulatory economist finds. And so you can find my paper on Ticketmaster on my website, CameronEconomics.com. Projects page. Next, I'd like to juxtapose two different visions. So under Marshallian cost curves, the last edition of this was 1920, and people still use these ideas to form their theory around when and why regulation is needed. So this would be a production function within the firm, and any firm within the same industry is assumed to have the same cost of production and the same production function, so you can then compare the firms in the industry. Where we can juxtapose that with James Buchanan's cost and choice, where entrepreneurs' decision makings are not based on production functions, but rather on subjectivity, opportunity cost, and the best use of resources through a subjective analysis, not based on production functions, which are known, knowable, and unchanging and comparable. So we start with the perfect competition model when the price elasticity of demand is greater than 1. This is the average cost curve. As you're buying down amortizing equipment over quantity produced, the average cost goes down. That's decreasing returns to scale. Then once the factory starts to get filled, then you get increasing returns to scale. Marginal cost assumes that all additional units cost the same. Of course, that's not true in today's digital economy, yet these ideas are still applied. And then the optimal price is where, under perfect competition, is where the marginal cost is equal to the average cost. Next, we'll look at monopoly power. Under monopoly power within a firm and an industry, we assume that the price elasticity of demand is less than 1. Therefore, the firm has monopoly power. And this is based on the fact that you now have a marginal revenue curve. You can price discriminate. An example of price discrimination is selling Broadway tickets at half price the day of the show, or the way airlines price their tickets. You buy it too early, it's too expensive; too late, it's too expensive; right in the middle, it's less expensive. And then this is the interesting part. So the idea then, instead of producing at the optimal quantity, you reduce production to where the quantity is at the marginal revenue curve. This would be the monopoly quantity, and then you price along the demand curve. And this here would be the above normal profits. And this is what regulatory economists are worried about, is the above normal profits that monopolists get. But we know as long as you have free entry and exit, monopolistic power is competed away. And so another point here is that if you really do have a product that people are willing to buy, then would you reduce quantity? No, you would produce as much as possible. Again, objectivity versus subjectivity. Thank you. This has been the lecture module on Marshallian cost curves.